I thought I would be at an R1 institution, which is like a UNC or an NC State type institution where I'm primarily doing research. And when I got to being for my master's, they said you have to be a teaching assistant. And that terrified me. And my PhD advisor, Sarah Woodley, said to me, she said, my evaluations when you're my teaching assistant is way higher than they are with any other teaching assistant that I have. She says, and that has nothing to do with me. That has to do with you. And I said, okay. And she goes, have you ever thought about being a teacher and going to a small teaching institution rather than doing the research route? And I said, no. And she talked to me a lot about it. And she had me participate in activities with the Center for Teaching Excellence. And so I really thought, well, maybe this teaching is what I should do. And so I came down here with every intention of probably not taking the job. I'd done a little research and I said, I don't know if it's where I would want to live or if this is the type of school that I wanted to be at. And then I got here and I interviewed at the end of May. So the students were not a factor. That probably would have driven my decision even more quickly had I met the students, but meeting the faculty and the staff here, by noontime, I had called my husband. I'm like, if they offer me this job, I'm going to take it. And because it really felt like family here. Everybody was really nice. And I think just that openness and that warmness that was here and that warmth that you felt immediately was solidified my decision. I was blessed. God blessed me with 3 wonderful mentors. My undergraduate, my master's for Matt Lovern, and Sarah Woodley for my PhD. There's no doubt. And they were 3 wonderful mentors. I love research. That's why I became a biologist, for goodness sakes. I love being in the field and I love doing that kind of stuff. And being involved in the field ecology class with Dr. Bowe and Dr. McGuire kind of sparked that interest in me. And also talking to Dr. Taylor one day, Greg and I were sitting in his office and we were just talking about the importance of continuing on with your scholarship. And I know what important part being involved in a student research project meant to me and for my future in biology. And so I wanted to pay that forward. That played a huge role in my life for sure. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my mentor, for my undergraduate research project. And I get kind of emotional when I think about him. But I started out at a 2-year institution at Allegheny College and I was floundering there. I'm a first-generation college student. Both of my parents are blue-collar workers, and they both dropped out of high school. But I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents, and my parents as well, always stressed the importance of education. They knew how hard their lives were without a college education. And so they didn't want to have that for me. And so they stressed to my sister and I all the time about the importance of a college education. And my dad always wanted me to be a doctor, a medical doctor. And so I went into school as a biology major and I was a very good student in high school. I was at the top of my class at a very good high school. But I went to college and I was failing. I couldn't go back home to my family and say, well, how do I do this? They couldn't tell me how to navigate this. I kind of had to figure it out on my own. And I was at a school that I really didn't feel comfortable. It was a small school like Chowan, but many of the students that they accepted were at the top of their classes. I mean, everyone there had over a 3.0 GPA, and there's so many valedictorians of their classes that came to Allegheny College, and I liked Allegheny, I did, but I floundered there. And I happened to have a roommate my second year who was older than me. She was a senior. And she said, she came from a state school. She got her associates at a state school. And she goes, you need to go to a state school. That's more your style. And so the closest state school near home was Slippery Rock University. So I went back, I dropped out at Allegheny, went back home, lived at home, applied to Slippery Rock. But just because it was close. And God is smarter than all of us, right? And he has a plan. And there's no doubt in my mind that I was supposed to do that was supposed to happen the way it did. And I went to Slippery Rock and I met Simon Beeching. And that changed my life. He impacted me in ways that he doesn't even know. And I'm still friends with him and still friends with his wife. And every one of my master's thesis and my dissertation, they all have acknowledgments for him. I never had a professor do that before other than through him. And he is my model. He is my model. So, and everything that I do, I think, and maybe the realization is just hitting this to me now that I'm talking to you, is to make him proud of, because what he invested in me, all the massive amounts of time and energy that he invested in me, and it was like effortless for him to do this, you know. And but all that he did for me, and his wife Wendy included, I think that I'm just trying to make them proud. There's no doubt. I think that's what I try to do too, is, you know, try to find the passion, where the passion is for my students. You know, Dean Rupsch gave the convocation address yesterday, and she was talking about flow, and that there are certain behaviors that when you're bored, you have these certain behaviors, and you just procrastinate and you put it off. You don't want to do the work. But whenever you find something that you're good at, you're engaged in it. You want to be doing it. It doesn't feel like work whenever you're doing it. And that's what I feel that Chowan is for me. It's my flow. And teaching, I'm in my flow. There's no doubt about that. And I love engaging with the students.
Whatever you said to that, one is already made